Let's walk through the life cycle of capital and a critical vulnerability that investors face. The transition from wealth accumulation to wealth decumulation represents the most fragile point in your financial journey. We call this sequence of return risk, or SORR for short. It's a systemic weakness where the specific timing of a market crash can irreparably destroy your portfolio's ability to compound, regardless of long-term average returns. When you are simply saving and building wealth, market volatility can actually be a structural advantage, letting you buy assets at lower prices. During this phase, the order of returns is mathematically neutral. Whether you experience positive 20%, followed by a 10% loss, then a 5% gain, or if you start with a 10% loss early on. The commutative property of multiplication guarantees you end up with the exact same terminal wealth, assuming you aren't pulling money out. However, the math fractures the moment you start taking distributions. If you face an early drawdown, say a 30% market drop right after you retire, you are forced to sell an exponentially larger number of shares just to meet your basic living expenses. Because those shares are removed permanently, they can never participate in the market's eventual recovery. This triggers a death spiral where your capital shrinks rapidly, and you essentially run out of money before your time horizon ends. To neutralize this risk, we must separate capital by its time horizon utility into three distinct buckets. First, bucket 1 is your liquidity moat, designed to cover your first 0 to 24 months of expenses. It relies on cash and 1 to 3 month T-bills. Its sole function is absolute capital preservation. Yield here doesn't matter. Its purpose is to buy you time. If stocks drop 30%, you live exclusively off this moat, which shields your compounding engine from forced selling. Next is bucket 2, the shock absorber, covering years 3 to 7. We fill this with high-grade assets like 5 to 7-year U.S. Treasuries and corporate credit. It provides capital stabilization. If a bear market outlasts your 2-year cash moat, these high-quality bonds typically hold their value or appreciate, allowing you to replenish bucket 1 without selling stocks at a loss. Finally, we have bucket 3, the compounding engine, for money you won't touch until year 8 and beyond. Composed mostly of global equities, its job is aggressive capital appreciation to beat inflation. Because its timeline is so long, it has infinite duration and can safely absorb standard market haircuts. Now, you might wonder why we don't just use a standard 60-40 portfolio. A traditional 60-40 relies heavily on a negative correlation, assuming bonds will save you when stocks crash. But in an inflationary shock or stagflation, central banks raise rates, which crushes bonds, at the exact same time slowing growth crushes stocks. As we saw in the 2022 mechanical failure example, both the equities compounding engine and the bond shock absorber can decline simultaneously. This is exactly why bucket 1 is so critical. A 1-month T-bill has near zero duration risk, meaning its principal is virtually immune to rate hikes. The takeaway here is that by strictly compartmentalizing your assets by the specific time they are needed, you build a structural fortress where short-term liabilities can never force the liquidation of your long-term growth assets. To fully grasp the magnitude of this risk, we need to formalize how portfolio depletion actually works mathematically under withdrawal pressure.
Let's formalize the sequence of return risk by looking at the mechanics of portfolio depletion under withdrawal pressure. We can calculate your ending balance for any given period using this foundational equation right here. It simply says your ending balance, P sub T, equals your starting balance multiplied by the market return for that period. From that total, we subtract W, your constant inflation-adjusted withdrawal amount. Watch what happens if you hit severe negative returns early on. Let's say you start with $1 million, but in year 1, the market drops 20%, leaving you with $800,000. Then year 2 brings another 15% loss, dropping it further to $680,000. Through all this, your $40,000 withdrawal stays completely constant. Because that withdrawal amount doesn't change, the percentage of your portfolio it consumes spikes dramatically. Before the crash, $40,000 was just a comfortable 4% of your $1 million portfolio. But after a 40% crash, when your portfolio is down to $600,000, pulling out that exact same $40,000 now requires liquidating 6.6% of your remaining assets. This accelerating liquidation is what permanently destroys your compounding base. Now let's look at the volatility drag on your compounding engine. Your compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, is practically always lower than your average arithmetic return. This formula explains why. Your CAGR equals your arithmetic mean return, mu, minus volatility squared over 2. This mathematical subtraction means that as volatility increases, your actual realized growth curve bends downward. Higher volatility mathematically forces a lower CAGR. So how do we fix this? Time segmentation eliminates this volatility for your near-term liabilities. By keeping your immediate needs in safe assets like buckets 1 and 2, we drive the volatility of that specific capital down to near zero. This protects your stable cash flow generation, preventing volatility drag from destroying your immediate livelihood. Because we have the next 5 to 7 years fully covered, systemic risk only materializes if a global depression outlasts that entire 5 to 7 year protective window. The key takeaway here is that sequence risk doesn't just temporarily lower returns, it forces the premature liquidation of assets, which is mathematically unrecoverable without protective buffers. To build those protective buffers, we must enforce strict mechanical precision through strategies like a bond tent during the transition phase.
We just saw the harsh mathematical reality of sequence of returns risk. How severe negative returns early in retirement can permanently deplete a portfolio under withdrawal pressure. To prevent that, governance of this portfolio requires mechanical precision, driven by 5 key protocols. The first protocol is the implementation of a bond tent. This is absolutely crucial during the retirement red zone, the 5 critical years just before and after you start decumulation. In your final years of accumulation, new capital is routed into buckets 1 and 2 to build a defensive moat and lower your portfolio's equity beta. Once decumulation begins and initial risks are navigated, you spend down these fixed income buffers. This naturally allows your equity allocation to organically drift upward over time, which reaccelerates your compounding engine to combat long-term inflation. The second protocol is dynamic cash flow routing. All dividends, interest payments, and capital gain distributions from your shock absorber and compounding engine are systematically swept directly into your liquidity moat as cash. This organic flow typically covers 1.5% to 2.5% of the total portfolio value annually. That allows you to fund your lifestyle without executing trades, slashing transaction costs, and preserving your principal base. The third protocol involves mechanical rebalancing, which is based entirely on thresholds rather than arbitrary dates on a calendar. For example, if your bucket 3 target allocation is 70% with a tolerance band of plus or minus 5%, you only trigger a rebalance if equities break out of that 65 to 75% range. In a strong up market, if equities exceed 75%, gains are harvested to replenish buckets 1 and 2. But in a down market, all equity sales immediately stop. You fund your lifestyle entirely from bucket 1, which is safely replenished by bucket 2 if necessary. The fourth protocol utilizes dynamic cash flow guardrails, specifically the Guyton-Klinger rules. If your current withdrawal rate exceeds the initial target by 20% due to market drawdowns, you must reduce absolute spending by a predefined amount, such as 10%. Conversely, a prosperity rule allows you to increase spending if the market significantly outperforms. This engineered elasticity ensures mathematical survival. Finally, we must implement tax-efficient asset location. High tax yield from your shock absorber, like corporate bonds or REITs, should be securely held in tax-advantaged accounts. Meanwhile, your compounding engine, consisting of index funds, is prioritized in taxable accounts to capitalize on favorable long-term capital gains rates and step up in basis rules upon estate transfer.
This time segmentation and liquidity moat architecture is engineered for serious investors shifting from wealth accumulation to wealth preservation. Now, there is a cost. Maintaining a 24-month liquidity moat and a 5-year shock absorber naturally creates a permanent cash drag. The primary trade-off of this entire framework is the intentional sacrifice of peak bull market performance for total mathematical survival. In a prolonged bull market, you will underperform a 100% equity index because capital held in T-bills simply doesn't capture upside volatility. However, this is the accepted cost of institutional-grade risk management. The goal is to ensure your capital base outlives you under any scenario. By compartmentalizing risk across time horizons, you neutralize the impact of bear markets. If the core equity engine crashes, your standard of living remains structurally secure and mathematically guaranteed for the next 72 months. This architecture serves as the definitive blueprint for permanent financial resilience.